Good evening, folks. We are here. Welcome to Curveball Convos as we preview the opening weekend of the 2026 college baseball season. I cannot believe we were here. I feel like football just started a few weeks ago. Basketball is in full swing right now, but folks, baseball is here. And yes, there is unfortunately weather on the way. We do have so many doubleheaders, so many cancellations, but folks, it's okay because baseball is here and we have you covered for all of that. Let me introduce my cast for tonight. Myself, Kason Rameli, Colby Gallimore, Reed Tobin. Braxton is unable to join us tonight, but he will be back for the recap show later this weekend. Colby, how's it going, sir? We finally made it.
Yeah, one sleep away. Rain is coming on Sunday, but at least it's quite a bit warmer than it was last weekend.
True, for sure. I'm glad it is much warmer for sure. And as we go to the weatherman himself, Reed Tobin, how's it going, sir?
I'm good, man. Feels like Christmas Eve. I feel like a 6-year-old the night before Christmas. Can't wait for tomorrow. Unfortunate though, the weather is going to be bad throughout most of the Carolinas on Sunday, but more baseball for us to watch on Saturday and Friday.
Yes, I cannot wait for that at all. We have a pretty loaded show for you tonight, guys. Just want to get started here, which kind of bar just how excited we are, things we're going to look for. Reed, we'll start with you first. Just overall general thoughts. Just like this can be as broad as you want it to be. Just kind of what are you looking forward to this weekend? Is there a certain team, certain matchup? Just what are you really looking forward to this weekend?
I think I'll start. I'm most excited to see. I think the Carolinas are just loaded with in the aces position for Friday night guys. You know, you look at Fluky, Kanak, Norby, DeCaro. How are they going to handle? How are they going to back it up tomorrow? All this preseason hype. So I'm really excited to watch them tomorrow.
Colby, how about yourself, sir?
Looking forward to some morning baseball. Puerto Rico. I mean, that's gonna be fun. Waking up 9:30 tomorrow. Wake plays at 9:30 tomorrow, and State plays at 9:30 on Saturday. So, morning baseball. That's always fun. A little appetizer before everyone gets going in the afternoon. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Jacob Duden is as a starter tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one for
Saturdays.
sure, Colby. You're good, Colby. A little baseball and breakfast, as Steven said to me earlier this morning when I was on the show. Really looking forward to that. And so, Colby, you will be watching on Victory Plus.
Yeah, I think it's free. You just
Oh
got to
wow,
create. Yeah, that's what I
wow,
heard. Don't quote me.
huge. Is anyone going to be watching the App State game on AppStateSports.com?
Yeah, we'll give them a watch for sure.
Quite something for sure. I'm just really looking forward to just seeing all these teams get back out there. I'm going to be paying close attention to my alma mater, ECU, as they take on Xavier. That is a big one for me. Also, going to have my eyes on Upstate and South Alabama. That is a really good matchup late. I think that's one of the latest matchups of the day, if I'm not mistaken, on Friday. I'm pulling that up right now. Yeah, that game is at 7:30, so a nice little nightcap there. Don't know if we'll be able to watch it on TV. I don't see ESPN Plus on our spreadsheet, but and another matchup I kind of want to point out in the Carolinas, which is interesting. Read Kentucky at UNCG. That is really interesting. I was talking to Stephen Igo of Hoist the Colors on the phone today, and he thinks this game was scheduled years ago because Billy Godwin, former UNCG coach, ties. So maybe this is in the schedule. But Reed, kind of strange seeing an SEC team come to SoCon UNCG.
Yeah, good for Greensboro. Like you said, I'm sure this was scheduled years in advance. But no, it's kind of cool to see. You know, Kentucky. A lot of people sleeper pick to get to Omaha. this year. I mean, I imagine Greensboro is going to have their hands full this weekend. You know, they lose a lot from their team coming off a really disappointing season last year, but I think Braxton may be potentially going to the game tomorrow. We'll have to see what he says tomorrow, but it should be exciting to see.
Correct. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Yeah, so we will now get into our power rankings that released. These are our weekly rankings that will come out every Monday at 9 a.m. These are our biggest engagement. These are preseason power rankings for those listening, not watching the stream or on YouTube. Number one, we have Coastal Carolina. Number two, we have North Carolina. Number three, NC State. Number four, the Clemson Tigers. Five, Wake Forest. Six, East Carolina. Seven, Duke, South Carolina at eight. Charlotte at nine. Charleston at 10. High Point at 11. And UNC Wilmington at 12. Really looking to see how these jump over the next few weeks. I will say I am not a big rankings mover after the first weekend. No drastic change had happened because it's the first weekend, in my opinion. I think a lot of these teams are playing double headers, so maybe their script is kind of scratched a little bit because pitching adjustments from games 2 or 3, or whether it's 1 and 2, whichever they choose. But Colby, as we look at these rankings ahead of the first weekend, just with the matchups we have, what are you looking for this weekend?
Yeah, I think the top three are going into the season are pretty solidified for me. Those top three teams, just because I think they have the most complete starting rotations in the Carolinas. Those top three teams of Coastal, UNC, and State. I think any order of them would be fine. And then 4 through 6 is kind of splitting hairs. Any of those teams could be ahead of one another. Yeah, I don't put too much stock first weekend, especially with double headers, and I don't think starting pitching is going to go deep into games, maybe 5, maybe 6 innings, probably not more than that. But we'll see. Obviously, I think there'll be some shakeup after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but we'll see how everything shakes up after this weekend.
Reed Tobin.
Yeah, I think y'all touch on it. I wouldn't expect much changes this weekend, barring something catastrophic from those top teams up there. But you know, I keep my eye on Campbell. I think they have the biggest opportunity here this weekend. You know, they welcome Cal Poly to town this weekend, and you know, Cal Poly and some other polls was preseason ranked top 25, a trendy pick to get to Omaha this year. So, I mean, you know, if Campbell can pull something off this weekend, you could potentially see them making a big jump up in our rankings next week.
I 100% agree to that without a doubt. I think another game on here that could maybe see some movement, Reed, is Maryland and UNC Wilmington. Reed, former ECU Pirate, on Maryland, going to start for Maryland. I'm pretty sure. Reed, do you know if Lance Williams is going to get the start for Maryland this weekend?
I'm not sure if he's going to get the start, but you know, it should be interesting to see Maryland projected near the bottom of the Big Ten this year. Very young team, 10 freshmen, 11 sophomores on that roster, going up against a Wilmington team that loses a lot. But, you know, Randy Hood always has his boys playing well. I'm excited to see Connor Marshburn. He'll take over that Friday night spot tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing him pitch. You know, he had a really good year last year, sub 3.5 ERA. So we'll see what he's all about tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. Not going to doubt you about that. Trying to think what I want to touch on. I will say, Colby, how do you think? I mean, who does South Carolina play this weekend? South Carolina plays Northern Kentucky. I mean, they're not going to get threatened too much, but I don't want to go too far ahead with South Carolina. But I had some people at ECU say that, ask me if Charlotte was going to jump South Carolina in the future, and I said honestly, in our preseason polls, some of our collection of polls, Charlotte was above South Carolina, and just talk about what that means for Charlotte and also what that means for South Carolina.
Yeah, I was high on South Carolina last year with Minier coming in, and wasn't good. They did have a good portal class this year, so I'm not having judgment on them yet. Charlotte, they had a great year in the American last year. Came up short in the conference tournament, but they had a great portal, kept some guys, Dawson Bryce. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's tough because South Carolina's in the SEC, so they have the talent. I mean, they had the talent last year too, and finished second to last. So it'll be a lot of moving parts this year.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt about it. Reed Tobin, any other comments from teams like Clemson or Wake Forest?
No, I mean, I don't think both teams are going to get tested much this weekend. Look forward to seeing Blake Morningstar. I want to see him I mean, he was terrific at the end of last season. I want to see him take on a bigger role this year. Interesting that Cam Bagwell was not named in the starting rotation. We can touch on that maybe here in a little bit. And then, Clemson with Connect, we know he's going to be ready to roll tomorrow.
Without a doubt.
Reed, what would you say right now about Duke? What percent chances would you have them to make the NCAA tournament this year?
I think it really just depends on how all these transfers click. They had some nice pieces. Look at Cider Cannon, obviously, but they don't return much. I think Tyler Albright is the one top hitter they have back in that lineup. I'm gonna set it right now. It's about 30%, maybe. I think is the fairest way to say right now.
And Gracia, Kyle Johnson, obviously Pollard, all going to Virginia. So a lot of moving parts for Duke. I don't know what to think about them. They could be really good, or I'd say 30% is fair.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the hire with Corey Muscara coming over from Wake. You look what the job he's did as the pitching coach the past few years. Some of the guys that he's coached, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, he's did a fantastic job. So I think he'll do a really good job with this Duke program.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how that works. And they do have that then going. They don't have the pitching lab there anymore, but hey, Wake Forest is still pumping out big time pitchers. I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to bring up our All Carolina team. This got some pretty good traction. Reed, just kind of start off. Reed, who are some heavy hitters on that All Carolina team as I pull it up right now?
Yeah, I'll wait for you to pull it up here so people watching can see.
Okay. Hold on, Reed. Let me find it, Reed. 1 second. Okay. The All Carolina team is headlined. Who would you say it's headlined by, Reed?
I think we got a lot of tough choices. I've already mentioned it multiple times tonight. I think it's the pitching in the Carolinas. I mean, I think we are really lucky with some of the guys we have here on this list. You look at Fluky throughout the country. Most people named him preseason pitcher of the year. He was terrific last year. You look at Norby too. He was sensational last year. Connect, he's been doing it for the past 2 years. Marone was sensational for State last year. DeCaro has been solid for Carolina the past 2 years. I mean, you don't even have Blake Morningstar on this list too, who was really good last year. So yeah, I mean, I'll let Colby and you, Kason, kind of talk about your key points here on this list, but I think we're going to be set for a really special year here on the mound.
100%. And I will go ahead and read this off for our listeners. At catcher, we have Cider Cannon from Davidson, now at Duke. We have Landon Johnson playing first base at High Point. Gavin Gallagher playing second base. Cade Lewis at shortstop. We have heard y'all's feedback on Cade Lewis, but he can play shortstop. He is on a couple preseason teams at shortstop, so we put him there. Dalton Wentz at third base. Johnny Sweeney, the big slugger down there in Spartanburg, from USC Upstate at DH. Michael DiMartini in the outfield, Owen Hull in the outfield from Carolina, Martinez from Duke, Clemson's Ty Daly, NC State's Chris McHugh, Braden Burris at utility, and so is Chris McHugh. Excuse me. Braden Burris, don't know what position he's going to play for ECU this season. We also have Cameron Flukie as our starting pitcher with Ethan Norby from East Carolina, Aiden Kanak from Clemson, Ryan Marone from NC State, Jason DeCaro from North Carolina, and then our three relievers, Walker McDuffie from Carolina, Ryan Lynch from Coastal Carolina. There is a Ryan Lynch on North Carolina, but we're talking about the one from Coastal Carolina. And then Dominic Carbone from Coastal Carolina rounds out that list. So, Colby, what are your thoughts on the Carolina Curveball preseason All-Carolina team?
Yeah, as you can see, there's multiple players from the heavy hitter programs like Coastal, ECU, State, Clemson, UNC, Wake, and Duke. All have multiple players on our All-Carolina team. But I want to throw a spotlight on our two mid-major. I guess Coastal's consider me. I don't, and ECU. I don't consider them mid-majors though. But High Point, Landon Johnson, well-deserved All-Carolina team. Mentioned 1,100 OPS last year. And Johnny Sweeney, 1,200 OPS last year. And it's good to see that we have representation, not just from the heavy hitters, but we have High Point and Upstate. Obviously, Upstate made the tournament last year and High Point the year before. So still great programs, but hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some more representation, more than just a lot of players on the heavy hitter teams.
Yeah, I think that's how it'll fizzle out for sure. I just think preseason it's really hard sometimes looking at these teams, because especially the smaller programs, because you really don't know what to expect from them because there's not that much coverage of them, and that's where we come in to try to give you all that coverage. So it is tough for sure. And Reed Tobin, just kind of like guys like Landon Johnson and Johnny Sweeney, just kind of just how good do these guys have to be, and talk about loyalty for staying with these programs instead of going elsewhere.
Well, yeah, it's awesome that these guys didn't want to take the money when they easily could have gone to a bigger school. Obviously Sweeney, family ties to that school, so it doesn't shock me that he came back. But you look at Landon Johnson, his teammate Braden Simpson took big money from LSU. Go down to Baton Rouge. I expect big numbers from them both this year. For them to continue their terrific careers. But I want to touch on the outfield. Wasn't a lot of returning talent or proven talent, I would say, best way to word it, throughout the Carolinas. You look at all three guys we have here on the outfield are all transfers. DiMartini coming over from Dayton, where he batted over 400 last year. Owen Hull trying to replace Kane Kepley's role in the lineup. Then, you look at Ty Daly, too, coming over from Mercer, where he hit for a lot of power last year. It's really interested to see how these guys will fit with their new schools.
Yeah, I agree for sure. When you're all making this list, I was like, wow, there are three transfers in the outfield, but it just kind of goes to show just how good these guys are, and really, really looking forward to that for sure. And now we are going to touch on something that was a hot topic today. And folks, those are our bold predictions. And I think we should bring up ours that we discuss on our end, because we're the three here. So Reed Tobin, what were your bold predictions, sir?
All right. Well, yeah, I'm running back last year. I had this, that an SEC team would not win the College World Series. I think it's now been, 7 years in a row? Correct me if I'm wrong. Last non-SEC
2015?
2018 Oregon State, when
sorry.
Arkansas had that catastrophic collapse against them.
Right.
I think this is the year it finally ends. I think there's just so much talent throughout college baseball, more than ever. I think that continues to grow every single year. But I went with UCLA to win it all. I think they're just absolutely loaded. I think John Savage is terrific. He's won the College World Series before, back in 2013. I think this is his best team he's had since then. They were in Omaha last year. I mean, obviously, there's going to be multiple teams from the SEC in Omaha. I'm not denying that. But I think finally this year, their streak of 7 in a row comes to an end. And then I went with this one was a bit controversial. I went with South Carolina will miss the NCAA tournament, and Paul Maneri is gone at the end of the season. I'm not coming out here and saying he's going to be fired. He's either going to be fired or I think he just resigns. Last season was an absolute disaster, on the field, off the field. And then, obviously they're already dealing with a lot of injuries. Dylan McCoy out for the season too. KJ Scobie's been battling injuries. So Maneri, he's got his hands full again this year. They bring in a good portal class, but it's going to take a lot for me to see them gel together. There's not much returning production in that lineup. And what was my other one I had? And then I had 4 teams from the Carolina hosting. I wanted to go 5. I'm going to play it safe with 4. I think Carolina, Coastal, State, and ECU all host regionals this year. I could see 5. I think Wake and Clemson are in great spots. You can flop some of those other teams that I said, but we'll stick with 4 right now. I hope I'm wrong, and it's 4.
I think those are all definitely bold predictions and definitely are getting their flack on X. Colby, your bold prediction, sir?
Yeah, my first one, I had Clemson breaks the Omaha drought since 2010 and gets back to Omaha this year. I just look at it as they keep hosting every year, past few years, and knocking on the door. I guess it's kind of similar to how it's portrayed for ECU too. You keep giving yourself chances, hosting, knocking on the door. I think eventually, sooner rather than later, they're going to get back to Omaha, and I'm taking a bold shot that it's going to be this year. My second one was Winthrop's going to win the Big South tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. I think Winthrop takes a big step in Coach McGuire's second year in Rock Hill. I don't think it's a bold prediction to say they're going to finish near at the top of the Big South. I think they're one of the 3 or 4 teams that are going to finish at the top of that conference. And my third one was Avent gets his first ACC title in his 30th year as head coach at NC State, which is wild. They've had so many chances in his tenure to get a title or 2 or 3 or 4, but hasn't done it, hasn't gotten over the hump. But NC State, I think their lineup is loaded. I think they always hit. You look at their year-over-year hitting stats, it doesn't really drop off. And then this year they have a great rotation with Marone, Duden, and Heath Andrews. So I think they have all the ingredients to make that happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think those are all fantastic picks. And that's crazy. Just when I was typing that out last night, 30 years and first AC championship. I mean,
Yeah.
I can say that he definitely deserves it for sure. And my bold predictions, I have Wofford winning the SoCon. I think J.J. Edwards in his 3rd season has a bit of a bounce back from a 33-27 year. Not a bad year, but for Wofford standards, definitely say not what they are used to. They have some pretty key returners in James Lehman, Tanner Harden, Brandon Little. They have some nice pieces coming back. My second bold prediction is Coastal Carolina will not host regional. I know I have been pretty vocal on them on this show as well as on Twitter. I just think that they're a very good program, but I think it's going to be very hard to repeat what they did. And I will say they were underseeded last year in the tournament. Reed, me and you talked about that last year. They were underseeded there, but I mean, I think it's going to be tough for them. I have them having a down year. And lastly, I have the AAC, the American, having 3 bids. I predict ECU, Charlotte, and maybe UTSA or South Florida as that one. I think there's going to be two bids that are not auto. Then maybe one team wins the American Conference. But Colby, I think that for ECU and Charlotte's sake, in terms of net, that'll be huge if the American has an up year.
Oh yeah, Three's going to be tough. I can see 2. I hope it's 3 because better chance that Charlotte gets in. Yeah, I think ECU will be in a great spot, obviously, to make the tournament. I think they should win the American, but Charlotte's scheduled good this year, like they usually do. Kickoff this weekend against San Diego, who's the favorite.
Oh yeah,
West Coast, and then they also play a midweek against Virginia and some other good out of conference games. So Yeah, it'll take a lot to get 3, but I can definitely see 2, and got to have some things going the right direction for get 3.
Yeah, without a doubt. Reed, do you have any comments on the American Conference as a former as an American Conference graduate?
No, I think y'all both make great points. I think last year as a whole, the league was improved, except ECU was just down all of the regular season. And then obviously they got hot right there in Clearwater. But, Charlotte had a big bounce back year. And then UTSA um, with a program record and wins last year. South Florida was decent. Um, yeah, I think the Americans on the upward trend, and I think it'd be really awesome if they could get 3 teams in this year.
Yeah, that'll be big for the American for sure. And we're now going to transition into our kind of weekend preview, kind of move away from overall thoughts, kind of go through some matchups that are happening this weekend. First, first Colby, like we said earlier, a little breakfast and baseball and breakfast, whatever you want to call it. Wake Forest in Houston at 9:30 a.m. Will you boys be watching at 9:30 a.m.?
I'll have it.
Absolutely.
At work.
Absolutely, yeah. I might be driving to some places down here in the Charlotte area tomorrow, but I'll have it on if I can find a way to stream it on my phone.
That's right. Driving to ice cream parlors at 9 in the morning.
It's
The
not
next,
often you get to see a top 25 caliber team at 9:30 in the morning. So.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that. The next match that we have Canisius at App State at 1 p.m. Looking forward to seeing what App State does in the Sun Belt this year. I mean, the Sun Belt is so top heavy, Reed, with Southern Miss, Troy, Coastal all right there at the top. I mean, I think, Reed, would it be fair to say if App State finishes in the top half of that, that's a successful season for them?
Yeah, I mean, last year, I mean, they didn't have a great non-conference, but they recovered well in the Sun Belt. They had a respectable, made the conference tournament and everything. Didn't finish with a winning record overall at 23-31 last year, but they returned some decent pieces. Cameron Miller, Joseph Zamora. Obviously, they lose Lichtenberger to Clemson. I don't think they'll be on how 2 years ago they were with Banks, Tolley, and Cole and Toll. But yeah, I think App could have a bounce back year. Finish in that 7 to 8 range again in the Sun Belt this year.
100%. And the next matchup we have is Valparaiso at Gardner Webb. They're playing a doubleheader at 1 o'clock and then 5 p.m. Jim Chester down there in Boiling Springs, looking forward to what they do. They always are able to hit. Dale Francis no longer there. Northern Kentucky at South Carolina playing a doubleheader. Colby, we already spoke on it. Just South Carolina. I mean, I think this is a good spot for them. Kind of Northern Kentucky, not that good of a program. Kind of a nice little tune-up before they get into the thick of non-con. Don't you think so?
Yeah, going back to earlier about the power rankings, about how not much movement and won't put that much stock into it. I am putting a lot of stock for the South Carolina series. They need to sweep Northern Kentucky. I think
That's
they need
fair.
to start out the season with a sweep.
That's fair for sure. I 100% agree with that. Go ahead, Tobin.
I'm interested to see we'll be trotting out Riley Goodman tomorrow, redshirt freshman. Obviously we know McCoy's out for the year. Pitching is a big question mark for me if they want to have any form of success this year. Amp Phillips will be starting on Saturday, coming over from upstate where he was their ace last year. It would be good to see. South Carolina fans would probably be happy to see, if Goodman can go out tomorrow and pitch well and show that they have a quality arm that can pitch in the SEC this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that is a doubleheader, by the way. South Carolina playing at 1 and then at 5 p.m. later, so the same times as Gardner Webb. That can be seen on SEC Plus. Gardner Webb also on ESPN Plus. The next game is Akron at Presbyterian, playing a doubleheader at 2 o'clock, and then TBA probably 45 minutes after the game. St. Bonaventure at UNC Asheville, playing a doubleheader once again, folks. Better get used to it. Playing at 2 p.m. and then they're playing at 5:30. And then Colby, NC State versus Washington on Victory Plus, 4 p.m. What are you looking to see from the Wolfpack tomorrow?
I want to see Marone be dominant for the 4 or 5 innings he's going to pitch, because I don't think Avon's going to trot him out much longer than that, or any of the starters this weekend. Washington's a solid program, nothing special. I think they made the tournament last in 2023. It's not a program that goes to the tournament every year, but they've had some ups for sure in the past 10 years. Should be a good opening day game. See how Marone is, and I'm interested to see how Dalton Bargo looks in a Wolfpack uniform. He was really good at Tennessee last year, so excited to watch him too.
Correct. Yeah, you people could have picked him in our budget. He was the most expensive catcher, and he will be a big piece of that lineup for sure. You can watch that on Victory Plus, people. Do not forget. The next game is Northern Illinois at NC A&T on Flow Sports. Reed, will you be paying for Flow Sports this season?
Probably not. I mean, we've voiced our frustration with Flow Sports, so probably
and that'll
not.
Do it, folks. We will not be sponsored by Flow Sports anytime soon, but hey, it's all right. Next, Georgetown at Winthrop. I think that is they're playing a series, right? They're playing a series just to be sure. That's a nice series for McGuire and Co. You can find that on ESPN Plus at 3 p.m. San Diego at Charlotte. Colby, you already touched on that one. That is going to be a nice series for Charlotte. What's a really good measuring stick for both programs, also for San Diego at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And the Liberty at the Citadel. Reed, I think this series, if both teams score over 5 runs the first game, I think that will be something crazy, considering both these teams don't score a lot of runs and have pretty good pitching staff. So that will be a nice game for sure. And did you have any comments, Reed?
No, I think Citadel returns. They really struggled to hit for power last year. 21 home runs as a team last year. Shout out Lane Tobin, he's back though. But Will Holmes, he's back. He was really good for them last year. 3-0, 0.72 ERA, 25 innings pitched. I think he was hurt. He got hurt too at one point last year. So back fully. Look for him to take a bigger role. Andrew Stanley's back. He was their Friday night guy last year. And then, Liberty is always a tricky team. I think it will be a good test for Citadel.
It's always a test up there in Lynchburg. The next matchup, Army at Clemson at 4 p.m. on ACC Network Extra / ESPN Plus. Nice opening game for Clemson. Reed, we saw Army play in a regional a couple years ago in Charlottesville. Army, a solid program. That'll be a nice little game that we might have on one of the quad boxes we have.
Don't sleep on Army. Usually they win that. Yeah, usually win that Patriot. Wouldn't shock me if they give Clemson a run for their money in at least one of those games.
And Reed, the rematch, Fairfield at Coastal.
Yeah. We were fortunate enough to meet some very nice Fairfield fans last year when we were down in the Conway Regional. But, I'm just excited to see how Coastal come back, falling just short last year. Special season. I think the biggest thing right now is Hayden Johnson was not named in the rotation for this weekend. I think he had been nursing an injury. Schnall said that he should be – that his mechanics were fine. They just didn't want to rush him back in. So something to keep an eye on, how Ross Norman and who's the other guy, Luke Jones, I believe, starting on Sunday pitch.
Correct. Colby, does Fairfield get back this weekend?
I totally forgot till you just said that they're in that regional list.
Yeah.
No, Coastal sweeps.
but as Reed said, we were in the great Coastal Ale House right there on campus, and we met some nice Fairfield fans. Really good fan base they got there. The next game, Rutgers at College of Charleston. Reed, I know you'll have your eye on this one. You will not be able to have your actual eye on it because it's on Flow Sports. But Reed, College of Charleston, you've been high on them the last 3 seasons. And Rutgers, Big Ten program. However, I think Big Ten baseball's fake outside of UCLA. But Reed, do you know anything about Rutgers?
I don't know much about Rutgers. I would imagine they'll be near the bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten, like they
Yeah.
have been since they've joined. But I'm curious to watch this Charleston team. I picked them to win the CAA this year. I think they finally get over the hump and get to the tournament, which they've deserved after the heartbreak 2 years ago. And then they were just kind of up and down last year. But they return a lot to that team this year. You look at Landon Penfield, he's back. Ethan Plyer's back. Hayden Thomas is back on the mound. They had a really good portal too. Will Tippett coming over from South Carolina too. Reese Holbrook coming over from Carolina. So yeah, Chad Holbrook, the coach. I think this is the year he finally gets them to the tournament.
I'm with you for sure. And Maine at Duke at 4 p.m. on ACC Network Extra. It's kind of interesting to me how some of these games are doubleheaders, some of them are not. But granted, they're not on the sheet that I'm looking at. And then Xavier at East Carolina at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. We will have our eyes on that one. Xavier, I don't know what we talked about on this show, but Xavier's non-conference schedule is the craziest thing on the planet Earth. I mean, Reed, they have an absolute gauntlet. So really looking forward to seeing how that matchup is. Delaware at Elon, 4 p.m. on Flow Sports. Cole, will you be watching Elon on Flow Sports versus Delaware?
Yes. Elon, we need to put more respect on Elon's name. Are they like a top 4 or 5 winning program in the Carolinas?
Yes, they are. They are a top 5, I think, in the
You
Carolinas.
need to make it out to some games too.
I should. Yeah, I know. I was so disappointed this year. I will say I went last year to the ECU game as an ECU alum, as Reed moves his desk once again. That ECU is not playing at Elon this season, which I kind of disappointed, but is what it is. The next game, St. Joe's at High Point at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. I predict a lot of baseballs flying out of that ballpark in High Point. High Point's offense is really, really good. And Colby, did you have something?
No, I agree with you. There's going to be a lot of home runs this weekend. Yeah. And didn't ECU Cicione come from St. Joseph's?
Yes, he did. Frank Cicione or Cincone. I don't know the pronunciation. Cliff hasn't said his name yet, so I don't know yet. But yeah, he was their Friday night guy last year. So curious how they respond. And ECU, we'll wrap up the show with some rotations. ECU did release their rotation as well as Colby. States, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll touch on that later. Navy at Queens. Reed, I'm really hoping for the Warriors to start out with the bang this season. Let's get some wins on the board.
Sure hope so.
Yeah. And Reed, we're back again in the Big Ten. Indiana at North Carolina at 4 p.m. on ACC Network Extra. Reed, what are you looking to see from DeCaro?
I think DeCaro will handle business. I'm more interested to see how well these transfers do. Obviously, Gallagher's back, but everyone else in the lineup, unless Perry Hargett and Carter French start, it's going to be a transfer. So really curious to see how they gel, how their bats look. The pitching will take care of business. The bullpen, obviously, we know a lot about with McDuffie and Matias and co. But, Indiana, don't sleep with them. Yeah, they lost Devin Taylor, a first-round pick, I believe he was last year. But Jake Hundley, he returns. He was Big Ten Freshman of the Year last year, 14 home runs, 300-plus batting average. So I think it'll be a good test for Carolina this weekend.
100%. The next matchup, Kentucky at UNCG at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And Reed, I will say, and Colby, I want to quad box on this game because you know why? I think Kentucky drops one to G and G steals one at home versus Kentucky. Colby, what do you think?
Yeah, wouldn't shock me. Also, how cool is it UNCG is hosting Kentucky, and Kentucky was in Omaha in 2024. I mean, they're in Omaha 2 seasons ago. So that's really cool. And totally agree. I can see UNCG stealing a game this weekend.
Didn't Greensboro go on Kaysen?
No, Rico.
Okay. Didn't Greensboro, didn't they host last year. Was it Virginia Tech they hosted last year?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And then I believe they hosted Pitt too last year.
Yeah, they hosted 2 AC. Yeah, that sounds right.
So yeah, I don't know. Shout out to the Greensboro for being able to get some high quality opponents to come down and play.
They also had a fall ball series versus ECU that I attended, and they took both games from the Pirates. And the Pirates did have their guys playing. Braden Burris played, Austin Irby, and so hey, just look out for the Spartans. And hey, speaking of the power rankings, if they beat Kentucky, take 2 out of 3, or sweep Kentucky, are we looking at an early change at the bottom?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think Greensboro and Campbell have the most to gain this weekend.
Greensboro students and fans need to be out because that's incredible opening weekend. Not going to be too cold, and you're playing a good SEC team.
Yeah,
you need to get out there.
In my projected Omaha 8, and I just conflicted that with saying they're going to drop a game or maybe the series UNCG. That's what we do at Carolina Curveball. Next, speaking of mixing up the rankings, Reed, Wilmington hosts Maryland, 4 p.m. Flow Sports again, unfortunately. Reed, if they beat Maryland, how much stock are you putting on this? How good is Maryland? I mean, they were predicted to finish at the bottom of the Big Ten, but at the same point, it is a Power 4 program.
I'm not going to put too much stock in it. I don't think Maryland's going to be too good this year, but I think it would be a good start to the season, build some momentum early for a pretty new team down at Wilmington. Obviously, I think Marshburn will take care of business tomorrow on the mound. But yeah, I mean, I think if they can take 2 out, just win this series, I think they can build off it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Colby, go ahead, Colby.
Yeah, Maryland went 12-18 in the Big Ten last year, so not great, but not terrible. I mean, they're not South Carolina who went like 4-20.
Yeah, and but also it's not bad, but also it is the Big Ten. Also,
yeah,
the Big Ten is bad, so
it is the Big Ten.
Yeah,
but so Colby, I have Wilmington winning 2-1. I'm gonna put y'all on the spot here. What do y'all think happens?
Yeah, I agree. 2-1.
Can't remember what I put in our pick'em. Oh yeah, I had 2 out of 3. So
okay.
So
we're all on the Seahawks this weekend.
Yeah, remember, I mean, Wilmington hosted Georgia last year to start the season. So
true. Shout out Randy Hood and shout out Trevor Wyndham. Next, George Washington at Western Carolina on ESPN Plus at 4 p.m. Colby, is Western going to put up 11 runs a game this year?
I hope so. They were
that was absolutely electric. They had 3 guys drafted last year, which was pretty cool to see. Looking forward to seeing what they do this year.
Going to be a lot of offense up in Western Carolina this week.
Oh yeah, for sure. Bucknell at Charleston Southern. Shout out Charleston Southern. They play at 4 p.m. Don't know if that game's televised. Looking forward to seeing what they do in the Big South. It's going to be very competitive. Big South. We're a Big South heavy show because we have a lot of good programs. A lot of our heavy hitters of the mid-majors are in there. So looking forward to seeing what they do. And Reed, you touched on this earlier. Cal Poly at Campbell. This is definitely on Flow Sports. Campbell's always on Flow Sports at 5 p.m. But Reed, if Campbell can take this series, this will I'm not going to sit here and say catapult them, but it can definitely kind of be a launch pad for them, kicking them into high gear early in the season.
Absolutely. I mean, Cal Poly, top 10 in the country last year in total hits and batting average. They returned most of their starting lineup. I think it was the top 5 hitters they had back. Griffin Nays, 14-3 over 2 years at Cal Poly too. So I think Campbell's going to have their hands full pitching to this Cal Poly lineup this weekend.
Next matchup, we have Bryant at Davidson, 5 p.m. ESPN Plus. Look for some more offense to be scored there. They did get kind of ripped through by the portal, but it is what it is. The next matchup, we have some doubleheaders, but I already said those. And Mercyhurst at Wofford. I have Wofford winning the SoCon, so I have them winning the series 5:30 ESPN Plus. And then Colby, a nice little late night treat, nice little late night snack for college baseball, especially on a Friday night upstate at South Alabama. Looking for some runs to be scored in this game.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better series between in the Carolinas this weekend. And I like how it's at night because that's good for me getting off work late. So definitely going to be tuning into that one. Upstate making the tournament last year, and South Alabama is always a solid program. So like you said, I think there'll be a lot of runs. Should be good games.
100%. And Colby, I want you to touch on NC State and Wake Forest because they play different matchups the rest of the weekend. Just kind of run through what NC State has and Wake Forest the rest of the weekend because they are not playing a series. They're the only two not playing a series. Yes.
Yeah, the State plays Washington tomorrow, then Indiana State on Saturday, and then Seton Hall on Sunday. Um, again, just it's not great competition, but I mean, okay programs, I'd say.
Yeah.
Wake Forest is obviously Houston tomorrow. I'm blanking. Hold on.
Wake Forest plays Washington on Saturday and then Indiana State.
Okay, so it's just Houston and okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a great competition for sure, but I think it's okay programs, neutral site, so should be fun to watch.
100%. And we'll kind of wrap up on the weekend previews with this because not all teams put out their starting rotation. But Colby, what is NC State's rotation going into this weekend?
Yeah, Marone's tomorrow. He's the Friday guy. I guess Friday afternoon tomorrow, but Friday night guy. Saturday was a bit surprising to me. They're going with Duden on Saturday this weekend. I thought he'd be the Sunday guy. And Heath Andrews is the Sunday guy. I thought those two would be flipped. And there's also some speculation from State fans' Twitter. Just in the past, when we have one lefty in the rotation, even sometimes did right, left, right. So the lefty would always start on Saturday back in the past. But that's not happening this year. He's sticking with Marone Friday, Duden Saturday, and Andrews Sunday for now.
Interesting. Reed, is Carolina's rotation out?
No, but if I had to take a guess, it'll be DeCaro. Actually, you know what? I think they did release it. I'm pretty sure it's DeCaro, obviously Friday night, Lynch Saturday, and then I believe Boaz is on Sunday. Let me just check that real quick for you. I'm pretty sure they released it.
Yeah, you're good. Reed, while you look for that, I'll touch on Wake Forest. They have Blake Morningstar, who Wake Forest fans in the chat were chirping us for not having on our all-time team. He is a returner. They have Chris Levinas, a sophomore returner on Saturday, and Matthew Dallas, returner. Colby, no Cam Bagwell. Do you guys know, are they bringing him out of the pen, or is this a midweek situation, or just kind of figure out how it goes? Do you guys know?
I don't know, but that did shock me that he wasn't in the weekend rotation. Hoping it's not an injury and maybe it's working him up. Correct. And maybe he'll be in the rotation later. I doubt Bagwell will be the midweek guy. I think he's too.
I saw that was what they were leaning towards to start the season. I agree with you though, Colby. I think he eventually will move to that weekend role. I think maybe it's just letting him adjust to ACC ball and everything, obviously taking the big step up coming from the CAA.
Yeah.
Reed, did you find the
rotation? So I was wrong. So Boaz is actually projected to will be starting on Saturday and Lynch on Sunday.
Very, very nice. And ECU's was released today. Ethan Norby, as expected, the Friday night guy. West Virginia transfer Gavin Van Kampen going on Saturday, and Colby Weber going on Sunday, true freshman, big guy, 6'6", 220, true freshman. Really looking forward to seeing what he does. Reed, do you have any comments on that as an ECU guy?
I've heard great things about Weber. I think ECU, this is some of the best depth they've had at the pitching position. Obviously, you had Sean Jenkins was in contention to get a weekend spot. Ryan Towers, too, coming off injury and everything like that. Scione, too, coming over. So ECU, they have a lot of options, too. I'm curious to watch Van Kippen, how he pitches. I'd like to see him get back to more of himself, how he was 2 years at West Virginia. Last year he really struggled to go more than 4 or 5 innings. So
he never went more than 4 last year. West Virginia.
4 innings. Okay, yeah. I think if he can get to 5 innings, I think Cliff Godwin would happily sign up for that.
100%. And we will now go to some more rotations in the cons as we wrap up the show. App State's rotation, these are ones that we know. Not every team has released it or we have not seen it yet, but these are ones that we have jotted down. For App State, we have Tanner Nolan, left-handed pitcher transfer from Crowder. Game 2, Saturday, they have Gage Peterson, right-hand junior from Walther State, a community college transfer. And then for Game 3, freshman Grant Gardner, right-handed pitcher. Some next ones. Colby, I see you typing in Charlotte right now, man.
Yeah, they announced it a couple hours ago. I'm just catching up on Twitter.
Yeah, man.
Cribs Friday night. That's
Yes.
what to be expected.
Correct.
Saturday, Drew Munn, who is a transfer from Central Connecticut State. State actually faced him in the regional last year. And then to be determined for Sunday. So we have Friday and Saturday, but
Yeah.
or I guess the second guy of the doubleheader on Saturday. We don't know, but
Thank you, sir. And read for your Cougars of Charleston, Hayden Thomas, left-handed junior returner, Carson Bryant, Georgia Southern transfer, right-hander, and then Chase Stansel, right-hand pitcher, freshman for Charleston. Elon has Brian Strange, transfer from Southern Missouri. He is a right-hander. Hank Krift is the Saturday night guy, right-hand returner, and Cole Hansen, transfer from Seton Hall, right-hander for Elon. And for Gardner Webb, Chance Mako, Colby.
Yeah, he started his career at State and then went to Coastal and now at Gardner Webb. So
yeah. So kind of a crazy name, but I remember when we were doing this, I was like, Chance Mako, I remember that name. He is the Friday night guy for Gardner Webb. So good for him. Hopefully he can have a nice bounce back here. Oliver Nelson, how crazy is this? Back-to-back Coastal starters for Gardner Webb, right-handed pitcher junior, which is pretty interesting. So they have a Coastal guy Friday night, Coastal guy Saturday night. Pretty cool.
That's not a bad way to fill out a rotation.
What'd you say?
That's not a bad way to fill out a rotation.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to fill out the rotation. Not at all. And then they have Reed Bertram, left-handed pitcher, returner, and then they're playing a fourth game, and Matt Stewart, freshman arm, right-hand freshman. The next ones we have are South Carolina, Riley Goodman. He's a returner, redshirt freshman, redshirted. Reed, this was supposed to be Jake McCoy. Were you shocked Ant Phillips did not go to Friday, or do you know about this?
I'm just kind of surprised. Obviously, Ant Phillip. I mean, yeah, he's coming over from the Big South, but just in terms of experience, he's pitched in the NCAA tournament. I figured that he might get the nod on Friday, but maybe Goodman's going to be special for them. We'll see. They need him too.
And then they have Brandon Stone, junior right-hander returner on
Sunday. And he needs to improve. He needs to take a much bigger leap than he did. He really struggled last year.
He did. And then Georgetown at Winthrop. Winthrop has Braden Gilly, right-handed junior returner on Friday. Saturday, Luke Earnhardt, great name, left-handed pitcher, junior from North Georgia. And to round out the weekend, they have Randy Guzman, right-handed pitcher, junior returner. I remember him on a couple honorable graphics last year, but those are the weekend rotations that we know of. Granted, these can definitely
Coastal. Did you say Coastal? We kind of just touched on it a few minutes ago. Obviously, Fluky tomorrow, Ross Norman starting on Saturday, and then Luke Jones on Sunday. We will see how long that lasts. Obviously, I would highly expect that Hayden Johnson, I don't know how hurt he is right now, or if they're just going to have him come out of the bullpen, I would fully expect him to be in the weekend rotation sooner versus later.
100%. That's going to be an interesting one for sure, and kind of hoping for the best there, because sometimes that's a good thing to kind of ramp them up, but sometimes you never really know. Read last year at ECU, I mean, you have Tizer. They said Brian Towers and Brandon Tollett would eventually pitch during the season, and they did not. So hoping for the best down there in Conway. So, guys, I think that'll honestly do it. We talked about every single game being played tomorrow, every series this weekend, the matchups for NC State and Wake Forest as well, guys. I just honestly am like Reed said, this is Christmas Eve. I cannot wait tomorrow during work. I'm honestly hope I'm not working too hard. Hope I'm thinking about baseball, having Victory Plus on my phone. Looking forward to baseball, guys, and looking forward to seeing you guys too. we missed Braxton being on here. He is having some fun, so not too worried about it, but really looking forward to this weekend, guys. And Reed, your closing comments, sir.
One more sleep. I'm probably going to sleep terrible tonight, knowing what's coming in the morning. But yeah, just can't wait to get back at it tomorrow.
Colby.
Yeah, just excited. Gonna be tough to sleep, like Reed said.
Yes, sir, it will. And folks, thank you for once again tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on Spotify. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, mention us. Tell James his bold predictions are terrible. Tell me my predictions are terrible. Tell us our Omaha 8s are terrible. We got a whole bunch of SEC fans, which is great. We want all the fans. We love the engagement. We love you guys. We will not be here without you guys. So thank you so much. And guys, you can catch us on Thursdays and maybe Mondays. We're thinking about going on Mondays to discuss our power rankings. So, but if not, you can catch all your highlights, all your graphics, all your honor roll right here at Carolina Curve BB. Folks, have a weekend. Baseball is back.